The Australian Financial Review.
There are things we do in the pursuit of looking good that we often regret. I once threw a small fortune on new skincare products, dutifully lathering on one particular serum every morning. My face grew a little bit tighter, and by the end of the week, it was red raw. I looked really sunburnt. And so it turns out that instead of what I thought was a skin brightening vitamin C, was in fact a potent retinol. And the skin junkies will get this. Retinol is a nighttime only thing, and it is not to be splashed on first thing in the morning like a teenage boy's bad aftershave. My next guest did so much damage to her skin trying new products that she had to go to a doctor to get an antihistamine to fix it. But unlike me, who was dabbling with vanity, Priscilla Hajiantoni was experimenting with what ingredients worked for her skin. She ended up finding the perfect mix. It involved no harsh ingredients. She bottled it up, and at 25 years old, she launched Bangn Body. It's now a multi-million-dollar business on the verge of going global. Hi, I'm Julianne Sprague. You're listening to Female Founders, a production from the team at How I Made It. In this series, you'll hear from women who've built their businesses from scratch, how they've persevered against enormous challenges, and their daily hacks to get ahead. Priscilla, thank you for joining us today for our special season of Female Founders.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really did want to have a chat about your company, Bangn Body. I'm probably going to say that a million times through this podcast because it's a very clever name.
Thank you.
We all want banging bodies. But before we talk about the business and the success that you've had at such an early stage, what was Priscilla like as a kid, as a student? Were you good at school?
Good at school. I definitely was the teacher's pet, but I definitely had to work a lot harder than the other kids. I couldn't really absorb information as fast because I guess, being such a creative kid. I'm also a twin sister. I'm a twin. And yeah, I guess both of us being super creative and expressive, we just didn't shut up as kids. You know, were always chatty.
So was your report card easily distracts others? Was that one of the comments teachers would make?
Easily distracts others, but also wants to do the right thing. I think, yeah, probably that was the commentary. I guess I wasn't quite disruptive. I think I just chewed everyone's ear off. I think that hasn't stopped. You have to tell me to shut up, especially when I'm passionate about something. But no, I guess being young and Melbourne born and raised, and yeah, having a twin sister and also a younger sister, that was very interesting in the household. I would always have clothes go missing and I'm like, oh my God, it's one of my sister's closets. So that was fun. But no, I just, had a really happy upbringing. My mum was a super mum. My mum and dad separated when I was 6. So she really kind of showed us what a superwoman could do. She was a career woman. She had her own businesses and she raised us girls. And yeah, we never felt deprived. We never felt not satisfied. She always empowered us to go after our dreams. And yeah, I'm forever grateful for her for that.
And so what do you study at university?
I did an associate degree in marketing and business. And then I also did supplementive diplomas in HR and project management.
Okay. And so when you were setting out to go study at university, did you think you would be a business owner? Did you want to be an entrepreneur? Did you even know what the word meant?
Yeah, I guess seeing my mum in business, that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, was quite instilled in us. But no, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in terms of having my own business or just being a really good employee for somebody else and growing and working up the ladder and, achieving my goals that way. I think how it all ended up working was quite organic with me conceptualizing and starting Bangn Body as a brand. But before that, I was just going to uni just to, really kind of be in that space.
And so you mentioned your mum had businesses. Mm-hmm. What were they?
She had hair and beauty salons. So I guess we were kind of always in that space after school, and on weekends we would help give coffee to clients. We would sweep. We would pretty much be hands-on and do everything that we wanted. My sister was more into hair and I was always more into beauty because I really suffered with my skin for close to 15 years. We have eczema that runs through the family. I had severe hormonal acne. where my twin, she didn't have any of that. And so
Oh, wow.
that was quite interesting, me going through my skin troubles and, confidence issues. She never had that. So I guess when we used to go to the hairdressing salons, my mum's salons, she would always be behind the basin washing clients' hair, where I would always be serving the customers and talking to them about skin and looking at the back of the packaging. It was quite different. And ironically now, she has her own hairdressing business and I have my own beauty business. So it's quite interesting how that turned out.
Yeah. But when you were studying, you weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to go and set up a beauty business. It was the career, you were going to do a traditional career path, go and work for a company.
Yeah.
And so what was the first job out of university?
So I actually was in retail. So I worked at some of the top brands, fashion brands, which were super insightful and a really big learning curve. I guess for me, I loved a good chat. I loved helping people. I loved making people feel confident and, I would always help style them. And then once I completed my diploma in project management, I then got a job in corporate business through ANZ, and I kind of worked there and worked up the ladder and went into business management. So that's when my really kind of business trajectory kind of took off from there.
Okay, but so you're working for ANZ Bank, and there is a career pathway within the bank.
Of course.
They're quite good at fostering the talent and bringing you through. But at what point do you think, I'm actually just going to throw all that in and I'll just go and start this business?
Yeah, it was quite interesting because it wasn't that I wasn't fulfilled per se. I think I just wasn't finding my purpose in all of it. And I think I didn't even know what that was at the time. Like, what is purpose? Like, now I truly believe I am living my purpose, and it's just that underlying feeling that you never really had before. I've never really had before. And so when I was in corporate worlds and ultimately working up the ladder, and I was on a quite healthy pay package for such a young age and ready to buy our first home with my, partner, you don't really think about kind of, oh my goodness, the safety net's going to go and, what does that look like? But I had a really pivotal moment in my journey where I remember very clearly I had to commute close to 3 hours on the train, an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. And one morning I just couldn't hide my breakouts with my makeup, and I just felt so terrible. My mental health was really struggling at that point, and the pressures of work and then looking a certain way, and I just cried. I remember I called my mum and I just cried for the whole way, an hour and a half. And my mum has always been such a champion of us girls, and she really believed, based on how I was, so curious, always researching ingredients. My skin didn't agree with pretty much nothing. Like, it's so sensitive. And she remember saying to me, you've gone through such hard times with your skin for so long. Maybe there's something here. Maybe you need to look at this more closely. And I was just like an emotional wreck. I didn't really hear what she was saying half the time because I was just like, I just wanted to be fixed. And so from that conversation, I remember going home being just emotional the whole day. And I just kind of sat with myself for a little bit, and I just said, like, what do I really want to do? I'm 23 at that point. What do I really want to do? Like, this is a safe career, and I just had to be super real with myself. So what I did was I started to journal, I started to mind map on the commutes to work, and I just kind of said to myself, if there is something here, I will build it. If there's not, then it would be a good outlet. And that was about 8 months to a year of me doing that. And by the end of it, I actually had somewhat of an unconventional business plan of this, concept and what it would look like. And I didn't want it to be another product on the beauty shelf. I was so overwhelmed by what was out there at the time that there was nothing simplified about it in the industry as a whole. And I didn't want to add to that saturation and confusion. So I really sat with myself and I said, if I'm going to do something, bottom line, non-negotiable, has to work, has to jump off the packaging page.
So your idea is you want to make skincare that will fix your skin specifically.
Yeah, I was the guinea pig, yeah.
Yeah. And so how do you know how to do that?
I didn't. I wanted to ensure that I conceptualized my brand intent before anything else and my why, because I felt like I had somewhat of a why working in the corporate space, and I wanted to really kind of understand my why personally with my skin before tackling this huge mammoth task of where do you even begin? What's a contract manufacturer? Where do raw materials come from? How much is this going to cost me? So I remember trying to also align with forums. Like there was a lot of natural, vegan kind of up and coming brand forums at the time through Facebook. I don't know if they're there anymore, but they were, and they were really great insights into where to even look for, contract manufacturers if you weren't making it in your own lab, or, what raw materials, you should be using, and the ethical aspects of all of that. And ultimately that's kind of where the journey began, was once I kind of had this concept of what I wanted Bangn Body to be, even though I didn't have a name, but what this product, or this brand would be. And the bottom line of that being, super simple and effective skincare that actually worked. And for me, that was when I actually stripped back. And it was kind of like, as the process was moving forward, I was taking action to ensure that what I was saying intently was actually I was doing. So when I would write, okay, simple skincare, I would go home and there would be 50 products on my vanity. I'm like, this isn't simple, and clearly this isn't working. So I remember giving all my skincare back to my mum and saying, Mum, you need to get this out of my room or my bathroom, because I'm so tempted to try fix my skin every day. This isn't clearly working. I've been doing it for, 10 plus years. Something needs to change. I'm just going to use this particular natural cleanser that has literally nothing in it and probably wouldn't do anything for my skin, but that's fine. And then a simple moisturizer. And I stuck with that for 2 and a bit weeks. And that was the first time that I saw my skin actually change. And that was a big pinnacle moment for me to go, oh my goodness, this is insane. And then from there, I really kind of had this plan and was researching every single day, every moment I had, before work, lunchtime, after work, to really see if there was, substance to all of this. And then came the hard question, which was my partner at the time. We had spent 4 years saving for a house. And he was like, okay, I think it's ready for us to, look at houses. He got all excited. Let's put a deposit down. I was like, oh my God. He's going to kill me.
So what do you say to him?
Yeah, my beautiful man, Jake, who I've been with for 15 years, since I was 14. So he has been there with me through my entire skin journey. And
how much have you got saved at this point?
Probably around $80,000.
For the dream house?
For the dream house at that time. And we did also know that we were at that time getting, bonuses. He was at his job. It was coming to Christmas. So we had a few other things coming in the pipe where he was like, okay, let's start looking, because by the time that comes in, we could maybe find something better that we like, who knows? And so I just remember saying to him, I know we've spent 4 years saving for this money, and it's not just my money. I truly believe in my heart that this is what I need to do, even if it just helps me and I can find happiness and not have to think about my skin 24/7, and my brain can be free. And he's like, 100%. Like, I back you forever and beyond. Like, I back you so much and believe in everything that you're saying and doing. And even if it just helps you with your skin and you can see how beautiful you are to me, then that's all that matters.
So that's 80,000 well spent.
80,000 very much well spent. And he was like really the first, I guess, person to back me and the brand. And I just kind of had to be real with him. I said, you're saying yes now, but I could just literally pick up this $80,000, close to 100,000 with everything else coming in, and put it straight in the bin. Would you be okay with that if I did everything I could in my power to make something of this, and it just, for whatever reason, didn't work? Would you be okay with that? And we have to start again. We'd probably have to move back into our parents' houses, and he's like, yep, 100%.
And so what year is this?
So 2019 was when we launched. 3 years before that.
So it's around 2016.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fork in the road. We get to put the deposit down, have this house,
get married,
have the careers, and have a wonderfully lived happily ever after
Literally.
Sort of story. Right. But then you have a conversation and you say, let's take $100,000 and let's throw it on this idea I have to build skincare. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about how you've grown that business, what happened to the $100,000, and possibly some of the tricks you've got to making you better at building that business. So, Priscilla, we've chatted about the early journey here. You struggled with eczema. You're a twin sister who had a sister with beautiful skin. The struggles, the toll on your mental health and how the dark places you went to. Then you've made the decision. You're going to fix it. You're going to fix it for yourself, and you're going to take the house deposit and pivot and build a business. Let's talk about how you build that business. So go back to 2016 and what happens then? You don't have the house, so where do you go and build the business?
Yes, so I'm working full-time while I'm building this business after hours. So I remember getting up super early, jumping on the train, having an hour and a half on the train, which was a blessing in the end. I absolutely hated the train rides before conceptualizing this business, and really using that time to invest as much as I could to really conceptualize and develop the brand. And that went on for close to 3 years. But I was doing all of this, and the moment I got closer to understanding, okay, this is becoming real, we found a contract manufacturer. We went through close to a year and a half of development that went nowhere because I decided, pull the pin. It's not where it needs to be. They can't push it further.
So at this point, you have found someone to develop the product that you want.
Yes.
And so they're giving you samples or sort of product. And
so you go through a briefing, extensive briefing. Then they kind of give you a reverse brief. They go into detail of all the ingredients, and me having the knowledge that I did have was really crucial because I could be like, no, I know that ingredient doesn't work for my skin. And I guess in the end, my problematic skin of sensitive, hormonal, acne prone, oily prone, eczema prone, I had a lot of different variations that I could then go no to that ingredient, or yes, let's try this. Or so it was good in that aspect, but it just got to the point where, I was investing all this money for a year, and I just felt the alignment with that manufacturer wasn't true to what I was trying to achieve. They knew that there could be a really big potential for the products that I was creating because they weren't creating anything like that at the time. But that's where their perspective of potentially money and revenue was overcoming their intent to help really solve a true problem, which was my and still is the core reason for the brand. At that time, I got on a call with Jake and I said, I'm so sorry you're at work, but I just need to let you know that I don't think we're going to be moving forward with the manufacturer. And he instantly thought, oh, what's happened? Like, did they say that, your minimum order quantity isn't big enough anymore, or, they were the one pushing us out? And I was like, no, I'm deciding that I don't believe it's the right fit and I will need to go back to the drawing board. And he was like, okay, I think we need to talk about it at home. And I was like, yes, I'm just letting you know because I need to start, looking at things. He, at that point, I think wanted to stay, really supportive, and he was throughout the whole process. But of course, like any normal human is going to be like, okay, Priscilla, $35,000, not your fault, but it's down the drain. Going to another manufacturer, it could be the same. Like, how do you know it's not going to go in the bin as well? And I just said, look, I feel like we've had a good journey with the manufacturers. We've learned a lot. I've been able to ask the right questions. I now know the process. I now have a better understanding. So therefore, from the very beginning, I know what to ask so we don't get into a similar position. He was like, okay, we're in it. Let's go. Like, I believe in you.
So when you walk away, that means you're starting again.
Pretty much. So it just comes out of the bank, the savings that we had. And at that time, we were still working full time, thankfully. So we were putting money and topping money up into the business because it wasn't going towards a house. We had confirmed that. And ultimately, I just said, no, we've got to go back to the drawing board. I need 2 days. I'm going to put in some leave for work. I just need 2 days just to go back and research and go back to my old contacts and find a solution. And I'll never forget, I got on a call with this lovely gentleman and also a female, and I got off the call and I was like, wow. They weren't just talking about MOQ straight off the gate, which is minimum order quantities. They weren't talking about what are they going to get out of it? What are these? Like, it was just a conversation. And that was very unlike all the conversations that I had previously.
And whereabouts are they?
So my first manufacturer in Sydney, and that also posed quite a lot of challenges as well. But then these ones were in Melbourne. So I just said, get in the car, Jake, we're going. Booked a time. And we never looked back. And there's still our amazing manufacturers to this day who believed in my vision, and they weren't doing anything like that at the time either, so it was very new to them, not in the natural vegan cruelty-free space. That's what they pioneered in, and that's their bread and butter, which I loved, but just innovative formulas that how you can flip things on its head, how you can pull things, how you can not have a box when formulating. And yes, of course, there's some limits with, stability concerns and, what actually can physically work with certain ingredients, but they were willing to push it with me and we could challenge each other.
So 35,000's been torched.
Yes.
But you've had a hallelujah moment. You found someone you think you can now go into business with. Mm-hmm. But what's happening with you and Jake at this point? Where are you living?
I moved back to my mum's house, which was a little beautiful home in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And then we decided, and my mum was like, Priscilla, you're starting this journey. Eventually you're going to have stock. Eventually you're going to have packaging boxes. Where are you going to put all that? And my mum's house is not big at all. It's a 2.5 bedroom, like small little house in the northern suburbs. And then once we got into the momentum of the formulation and the sampling, and it was just so exciting, I was screaming hallelujah from the rooftops because it was exactly what I wanted. And we started ordering packaging, and again, packaging, minimum order quantities, they're not in the 1,000s, it was 10,000s up front, and it's a huge risk, you have no idea. But for me, I invested everything I had, mental capacity, knowledge, my skin, vulnerabilities and everything I'd learnt, our money, everything. And I was like, okay, let's just go with this. And we spent a good year to find right packaging manufacturers that were ethical, sustainable, recyclable. Our tubes worked with our formulas. Like, it was a very intense path. And so, then the house started filling up with boxes. My poor dogs, it was like a fortress in there. They didn't know where to go. They was knocking into boxes. It was terrible. And then we, after almost 3 years, finally launched the business. And through the journey of building, the actual product, I was actually building the brand in our community through Instagram. So at this point, though, you're still working in the corporate job? Full time.
Yeah, okay. And then you're on the train rides in, when you get home from work, you're working on getting the product.
Yes.
And then talk to me then about how you built this through social media. So you've set up an account earlier on.
Yeah, so once the name came to me and I was like, yeah, Bangn Body, that's the name. And I just relate to it so much. And I wanted to push the stereotype of who, what, and why things are banging, and I believe we are all banging and we all have banging bodies, and all of our skin are banging. I was surprised that name wasn't taken. I was like, oh, fantastic. I registered in domain. I registered as, through the web, like a website, hosting account. And the moment that I was able to get Bangn.body on Instagram, that was the moment I started, building the community, which was almost 3 years before launch. And back then the algorithms were very different to what we experience today. And I was just posting motivational, inspirational quotes and just really building a community of what people wanted to see when they looked at the account. And it was all sparking the emotion of happiness and, confidence and excitement. And the following started to grow, from 0 followers to after a week we had maybe 1,000, and then it just started growing really, really fast from there. And then about a month or two out before the brand launched, we had about 50,000 followers.
And it wasn't that long ago, really. We're talking sort of a 3-year time gap, but you did mention how the algorithms have shifted. Do you think you could build that sort of organic growth through Instagram if you had to start it today?
I think it would definitely be a lot harder because your followers are only seeing really you're only showing to a small pool of your followers. I think now it's only 10 or 15%, where back then, the algorithm worked in the favors that all content was showed to pretty much all of your followers. And also with that, it was in chronological order. So you could be posting, as many times a day and getting on the top ranks of, in people's feeds. So very different, but I think there are definitely creative ways that you really can grow your account organically, and what we have been doing ever since the start. Ultimately is collaborating with like-minded brands, doing collective and collaborative giveaways, as well as, doing give with purchases, or just, cross-referencing the alignment with other brands that, really do share a similar audience, but could be in different industries or different categories. And you're getting eyeballs, that you haven't received before, and ultimately you don't necessarily have to pay for, through digital marketing. However, it is definitely probably a lot harder from an Instagram scale, but TikTok is the new platform to be, and you can really go viral there.
So if you were starting out today, perhaps you would probably invest more of your time in TikTok.
100%.
Okay.
Yes. How
do you sort of tackle sort of engagement? Like, what are the social media metrics that you use to say this is what we need to be able to target, or how we're going to be able to grow our brand? We need to do X, Y, Z.
I guess for us, predominantly being, Instagram, and, Instagram really helped grow the brand to what it is today. And we really, at the time when, we're getting closer to launch, I was communicating, what the brand, is going to be, and ultimately kind of getting a lot of stats from our customers directly, not just from the analytical data of, okay, who's following the account, who's engaging with us, how many likes did we get, how many shares did we get, where are they coming from, but ultimately as well using the platform to do polls and Q&As and, just ask organic questions like, do you have a full, skincare routine that you swear by, or do you use 2 cleansers to double cleanse, like just the most randomest questions. But I thought, these questions are easy to engage with. People are keen to share about their skincare tips and tricks. And I was also curious on the type of, person that was following the account. Were they the beauty obsessed? Were they, the simple, they just want a simple routine? Did they not care about their skin? Were they using soap? I wanted to know all of that. So that was kind of really the start of building those connections from an early stage. And then when I got my first lot of products, I remember just saying to Jake, yes, they're meant to be for customers, but I think I'm just going to give them all away. And he just looked at me and was like, are you crazy?
So he really loves you, doesn't he?
He really does.
It's gone from, I'm going to take our $100,000. I've definitely torched 35 of it.
Yeah.
But, you're
We've
going
got
through the rest.
a little bit left over to play with.
now I've got some product and I'm not actually going to sell it. I'm just going to give it away.
He just looked at me and was like, hang on, wait, what? And I just said to him, look, I truly believe 3 years of product development and my heart and soul, and you've seen the product change my skin through all the formulas, through all the sampling stages, through going back and forth. You've seen my skin flare up in the process, but ultimately we have a product that my skin has never looked better. I truly believe that if I can give this yellow tube to as many people as possible, hopefully they fall in love with it as much as I do and have, and they share it on our behalf and they spread the word. And I remember just building these relationships with a lot of micro influencers and people that were following the account that had quite substantial followings. And I was like, oh, maybe I could reach out to them and just say, hey, would love to send you our products to try. It's been amazing you being a part of the journey so far. And, it's love, because I build these connections. Would you mind? And I always used to say to them, don't share it if you don't love it. Give me the feedback because I would really appreciate it. And I said, even if you don't love it, share it. I don't care, but I want the authentic, genuine communication. That is the only way a brand, that I believe, is going to succeed long term. And they did. And it was just yellow tubes everywhere quite quickly. And then we started selling product, and it was the customers that were sharing their before and afters. And I didn't know what was happening around me. It was like everyone started to know what this yellow tube from Bangn Body was.
Can I'll go back just a little bit and then we'll get a little bit more into the growth. But you did mention how you were the guinea pig.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any really dire moments? Like when you're the guinea pig, you're putting all the different potions and lotions. What was the worst experience?
I had to really put my hand up and go, okay, my skin's pretty bad, but it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And I will never forget, and where I really kind of pulled the pin on the first manufacturer was my skin is super sensitive. So there's just certain ingredients that I can't use. And they were like, yeah, but if you want to get the outcome that you're wanting, you have to use this ingredient. I said, but I can't. My skin is flaring up every time I use it. It's red raw. I'm getting breakouts. I can't keep putting this on my face because you say it's going to work in, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months. Like, no, it's not going to happen. And I actually had to end up going to the doctors to get like a stronger antihistamine because the inflammation was just insane. And I just was like, wait, this is not right. And this is where I mentioned the alignment of, their core intent was driving, dollars and product, I guess, where for me it was to do a job. If I was going to back this business and spend every last cent that I had, I wasn't going to settle for anything less than, a solution. And yeah.
So there's the mistake on your skin, but I guess that's a mistake you had to make. You were in there building it. Is there one or two things that you can recall that you've done so far in this journey that's just been a massive clanger, like where you've just gone, oh, we shouldn't have done that?
So I think going back to the lesson of investment and trusting in what people say, there was a few times. So manufacturers, one thing, that was a huge loss, but needed to happen because I wasn't going to settle there. Then you dive into agency. You're not, really that big enough to hire staff and kind of guide that culture, guide that narrative. So you entrust in, digital agencies, creative agencies, photography, all these things, and you have no idea how much you're spending. You just think, oh, that's the norm, that's the standard. You don't really know the word negotiable. It's funny. I look back and I go, wow, what? I did extensive research for my product. Why in the hell didn't I do extensive research on some of these, agencies? And just, ultimately, you're never going to know unless you give it a crack. And some worked beautifully well for the time that we needed them, and others just was a complete flop and they were all talk. And being a small business, that could be quite crippling when a lot of money is going out, but then you're still building a brand and, ultimately money is, coming in. And thankfully, we did have the community that we were, ultimately communicating the product to quite early on. And we built a 50,000 follower base quite early. So I was really grateful for that we had quite a lot of product being sold at the time of launch. But I think the two biggest moments were, wow, I'm spending a lot of money that I just need to rein it back and go, what is actually working? And what I realized that what actually was working was our customers and the micro influencers and just the talkability of the brand. That was really kind of driving, the product actually has to work and that's all that should matter. And it was working. And so sharing that was important.
And so what's your advice for someone who might want to be starting a business or they're sort of like you in the very early stages? What do you tell them?
Stay authentic to you and always follow your gut. It is okay to make mistakes. We all do. And at times we can all be quite overwhelmed, and that is so normal. If you're not overwhelmed, I think you're not growing. People don't grow in the comfortable. And I just think questioning the purpose as to why you do things, for sure, and making sure that aligns with your brand, but also everything is negotiable. And if someone really wants to work with you, they will show you what they can do before you have to invest everything into them. I wish someone gave me that advice, I guess, at the start, because it's an awareness piece. You don't know what you don't know. And I think that has been the biggest learning experience for me. And also remember, just because you don't know everything doesn't mean that you're not an expert at what you do. You have created, or creating a business that you have done intently. So ideally what outcome you want to achieve. So don't let other people sway you otherwise. You can have healthy debates, of course. You can listen to people that you trust, but just always follow your true intent.
I think we need to point out to people you're no longer working the corporate job.
Definitely not.
At some point you quit the job.
The day that I launched and it was available to the world was my last day in my corporate job.
Okay.
I gave it all up and I was all in. from
And
that
what about,
moment.
and Jake, does he keep working?
He was still working for a good 2 years, I would say, just over. And now he works full time in the business, and it's been almost, 2 years.
So I want to ask you about a productivity hack. So you're not juggling the two jobs, but you are growing a business. It is growing to scale.
Yes.
What is the one or two things that you might do in your day to get more out of your day?
Being owner operative, I'm in it with my team and I love it. And you can really kind of get stuck in just the day-to-day, answering emails and working with the team and working on projects. But then I'm going home at, 10, sometimes I leave the office at 8 o'clock by the time I have dinner. Then I get my laptop out. It's 10 o'clock and I'm actually then working on the business. I'm actually thinking about our 5-year plan. I'm thinking about the strategies of our international expansion. I'm thinking about new product developments. I'm taking feedback from the customers. How can we better our website? And I just think, oh my goodness, this can't be sustainable forever. And so what I've been doing lately is blocking out some time in my calendar to actually work on the business and get tasks done. I think the importance of identifying what actually matters and what is going to move the needle, you need to be working on your business like you did before it launched. And I think that has been a huge thing where you do rely on your team and they do a lot of, the work and your forecast planning for what comes next. But there is only one founder or two founders or three founders, whoever's a founder in your business that truly believes and understands the next steps of the brand. You are it. So yes, working in collaboration with your team is one thing, but it needs to come from you at least, or, you need to be working on it with your team to move that needle to the next phases of growth.
And are you still at your mum's place?
No. 2 years later, after launching the business, we got our house.
Is it the dream home?
We're renovating, so I think it will be the dream home.
And what about the next stage for Bangn Body? So you've gone from startup, built out of your mother's small little place. It's now its own business. How big is it now, and where do you want to take it?
So going from my mum's living room with just myself and then mum helping me pack on the floor with her coffee table to now having a team of 10. We have a really amazing office and warehouse. We pack everything ourselves and ship it to our customers worldwide. And ultimately we've gone from one yellow tube to 8 products and building that assortment purposefully as we've always done. And now gearing up for international expansion. We've got huge plans not only in ANZ but ultimately globally. There is a lot of conversations we are having with many retailers and distributors, and it's a quite exciting time. But yes, going from zero, I guess, to a multimillion-dollar business in 3.5 years has been a bit of a whirlwind, and I just couldn't be more grateful to our community who trusted in us from the very beginning and have spread the Bangn Body love and have been on that journey with us.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us. And I do want to point out to people having a listen, because they can't see you in the studio, but I really do need to see some of the before photos because your skin looks really good.
Oh my goodness. I have got many, and I am very, I just look at her and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have felt so sad. You're beautiful. And I really want to spread that message, because no matter where they're at in their journey, personally, professionally, with their skin, to have confidence in what they're doing and, embrace who you are as a person.
Well, thank you very much for sharing the story.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Female Founders, and be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And for more insight on entrepreneurs, subscribe to The Financial Review. Go to afr.com/subscribe. This podcast was presented by Julianne Sprague, produced and edited by Lap Fan. Our theme is by Alex Gow, and executive producer is Fiona Buffini.
The Australian Financial Review.